So don't be mad because you're frustrated because you're watching the year go by and another year go by and another year go by where you still have all this greatness and this beauty in your head that isn't your reality. What's up? How you doing? Welcome back to A Moment of Clarity with yours truly, Aaron Thomason. I'm super excited that you're with me, but you know the question. Did you bring somebody with you? Did you give this to 3 people? Are you putting the big fella to work? All right. Now, you know, A Moment of Clarity, this is the place where perfectionists and overthinkers get the courage, the clarity, and the confidence to take the next step in the direction of their goals, ultimately ending the cycle of self-doubt and frustration. So I want to jump in and introduce this topic in this edition this way. Let's talk about it this way. So, has anybody been bowling? Yeah. You know, me personally, I actually enjoy bowling. I enjoy bowling quite a bit. I know some of y'all might be germaphobes and y'all might not be feeling putting on the shoes and don't think the spray is enough. And I get all that. You know, we ain't post-COVID, pseudo-COVID. I don't know where we're in. But I know some of y'all don't necessarily fool around with bowling. But I want to talk about bowling from this regard is that we know in order to get a strike when you're bowling, you actually have to hit the ball. The one ball has to knock down all 10 pins at one time. All right, say it again. In order to get a strike, your bowling ball has to knock down all 10 pins at one time, one roll. If you knock down 10 pins with 2 balls, basically going twice, you know that's a spare. So why am I talking about bowling? I'm talking about bowling because it is a great example of how we need to set our goals up, how we need to be prepared to move forward to get what it is that we say that we want out of the next 6 months, out of the next year. What do we want to see for our lives? These things that are running around in our minds. It's like bowling. We have to set the pins up. If you want to get a strike, you got to make sure there's 10 pins set up and that you have the right ball and the right approach. All right. So what I want to talk about today is setting up the pins and the right approach. All right, so let's get into it. All right. So first thing, when setting our goals, we have to have a why. Yep, you've heard it before. 3 letters, 1 question. Why? Why is important. As Simon Sinek talked about in his book, begin with the why. Many of us that are detail-oriented people or don't want to move too fast, you know, it's like we want to get into the how and we want to get into the what. But that ain't got nothing to do with none of that stuff. It's the why that keeps you going. It's the why that actually allows for you to press forward when it's uncomfortable. So what's your why? Is your why just because everybody else told you to do it? Or is your why built on something that's in your spirit, your stomach, your heart, your head, your mind? Like, is it something that brings you to tears? What is your why? Because see, when you understand your why, you will figure out how and what to do. But many of us have not been successful, whether it was in 2021, 2020, 2019, or whatever points in your life. When you reflect on why you have not been successful in your goals and achieving your dreams, it's because some of you all don't have the right why. That's a key component. Because see, the why is like setting up the bowling pins. That's the why. You got to have it set correctly. You got to know what target you're going towards. So that's first thing. Do you know your why? Second thing, if you know your why, have you written it down? Have you written this goal down? Can we tangibly see it somewhere? Can we go grab a book? Can we see it in your vision board, something on your wall? Can we see this someplace? Or is this just something that you got going on in your head? Just something that you believe like, I got this. I don't need to write it down. Nope. I'm going to tell you, if it ain't written down, it ain't real. Think about it. Star Wars, the movie, Marvel Universe, all that stuff was in somebody's mind, Stan Lathan's mind, George Lucas's mind. But at some point, they had to write it down. If it ain't written down, it ain't a goal. If it ain't written down, you don't really want it. Let's go to the Bible. All right, for those of us that are Christians, it says, write the vision, make it plain. Write it on tablets so someone can run with it, right? Were you trying to fight everything by yourself because you got stuff too busy in your head, it's not written down, and nobody knows how to support you? So Don't be mad because you're frustrated because you're watching the year go by and another year go by and another year go by where you still have all this greatness and this beauty in your head that isn't your reality because you haven't written it down. If you have your why together, I just want to ask you this question and challenge you here. If you have a good why, that you know exactly the reason you're doing it, your motivation is locked in and you're clear, is your why not enough for you to write it down? I'm just saying. If you got a clear why, then it ain't that big of a deal to write it down. All right. Number 3. What's the deadline? Okay, I'm gonna ask you again. What's the deadline on the goal? Because see, you can have the right motivation, it can be written down, but if there's no deadline, if there's no when this is gonna happen or what you're striving towards, you get a chance to let yourself off the hook every time you wake up in the morning. You might say, hey, I got a book I'm trying to write, but if it comes out before I die and you live to be 99 years old, then you got a whole bunch of time, especially if you were 20. If you say, I would love to get promoted, but as long as it happens and you happen to work for the company for 30 years and maybe you got it done in the last 5 years of your career, what's the deadline? Because you got to put a deadline on it because it puts some pressure. Put a little pressure on it. So when you wake up every day, every movement, everything that you do has purpose because now you have the right motivation. You understand your why. 2, it's written down. And 3, we got a deadline. We got something that we believe that we can go get it by this particular time frame. And if we don't get it, we disappointed. Why? Because your why, your motivation, your clarity on your purpose for doing what you're doing is so crystal clear that it's written down that not by missing that deadline will bring you to tears. Yeah, that's where we need to be. If we're going to excel in this next year, if we're going to excel in these next months, in this next 6 months, we have to have the right approach like you were going bowling. Because see, no matter what, and I ain't that good in bowling, but no matter if you have all the 10 pins set up, there are plenty of people who have 10 pins that want to roll a strike and their approach is wrong and they rolling gutter ball after gutter ball after gutter ball. But you, my friend, you don't have to roll a gutter ball with your goals because you got your motivation set up. Those are your pins. So now all we're talking about now is your approach. Your approach is making sure you have it written down and lastly, having a deadline. Because when you wake up with purpose, you got energy. When you wake up with purpose, there's nothing that can frustrate you or disappoint you because your actions, the frustrations, the disappointments, the highs, the lows, they all make sense because it all leads to where you're going. It all leads to taking that thing that's on paper and making it a reality. It all leads to that. So when we have a deadline, all of our actions, our thoughts, and our relationships make sense because now it's pushing us to a place and a direction that allows for us to be where we ultimately want to be. I'm excited. So here's what I need you to do. All right. So as you jump off of here, as we get ready for the next steps, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take all the brilliance that's in your mind and I want you to actually write it down. Write down all the goals. I want you to write down all your goals that you want to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months. That's what I want you to do. And when you've done that, I just want you to put in the comments, say, Aaron, I did it. That's all I want you to do. Just say, Aaron, I did it. Write your goals for the next 6 to 12 months down on a piece of paper. Put it in the notes in your phone. I don't care however you take it, but it's got to come out of here and tangibly you got to be able to see it someplace. All right? And then in the comments, just tell me, Aaron, I did it. Cool. And some of you all might actually want to be able to see me face to face. Click the book now button and let's get together and let's figure out how we can talk about so I can get excited about your goals as excited as you are. And as you're going through that, do me a favor. There's 3 people that need this, so don't be selfish, all right? And here's what I want to leave you with, just like I do every time. I want you to think about this because as you're going towards your goals, I want you to remember this one thing right here. Just because you started out on this journey to get better, it doesn't mean that you weren't already good.